As the last hours of 2022 dwindle down, we do a year-end review of University of Virginia's sports programs.
You are Locked On Virginia, your daily podcast on the Virginia Cavaliers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, everybody. It is 12/31/2022. It is really the last hours of the year. I just finished watching TCU upset Michigan in the college football playoff. That only is going to make it so that there is definitely a 12-team playoff coming. But we're here to talk about Virginia. I have 6 subjects that I'm going to talk about right now. But let me give you our title sponsor. Actually, I'm so excited. I didn't even give you my intro. Good day, viewers and listeners. I am Big Law. And welcome to the Locked On Virginia Cavaliers podcast. Your first place to come to get your Wahoo fix every day as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our title sponsor today is BetOnline. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So yeah, everyone, like I said before, this is the year-end review for sports. I will be doing a football year-end review tomorrow with my guy Casey Cavalier from Virginia Game Day podcast. We did one on basketball yesterday, so you guys can check that out. But I'm here to talk about the year that was 2022. Just kind of give you guys a brief overview of what happened in 2022 and what to look forward to. First thing I want to talk about, of course, 2022, what a different year it was. It was more of a coming out for fans, for coaches, for players. This was the year where there was some sort of normalcy starting to fit back in to what we were used to having when it comes to your sports environment. We had players, coaches, staffs, everything pretty much back to normal. Of course, the pandemic was still there, alive and kicking in the beginning of 22, but society made its choice and said we're not going to be held hostage anymore. We're going to start going to games at full force. We're going to start doing the events. We're going to start traveling more. We're all going to start working. Also, it was the evolution of, we've had this evolution of people working from home. Is also the evolution of people coming back out, re-evolution of people coming back out of their homes, which was a great thing as well. But same thing happened in sports. Everybody wanted to get back out to what they were used to seeing when it comes to having sporting events and having fun, taking your family, to sporting events. And that's pretty much what happened in 2022. And going into 2023, I only see it getting bigger and more fun, when we're talking about all of the sports getting back to normal. So let's talk about, one of the earlier things that happened. We'll talk about the basketball team first. Of course, the basketball team only won 19 games before tournament play, big tournament play, and it was a little bit of a letdown based off of what we expect from a Tony Bennett team. 19 wins, yes, it is a down year for this University of Virginia basketball team. I will mark this, though. They did have a highlight to the year of knocking Coach K out against him for the last time, beating him in the Cameron Indoor Stadium, and getting that win on the last shot made by the man Reese Beekman, and sending him out with the loss against Virginia. His last time he plays the University of Virginia, he played the University of Virginia, it was a loss. So that was one of the highlights of the year. And then, of course, they did not qualify for the March Madness tournament, the NCAA tournament. So they wound up going to the NIT. Think about the NIT. I mean, I'm not going to, thumb my nose at the NIT, but it is nothing like playing in the March Madness tournament. But I don't see Coach Bennett or the administration for University of Virginia turning down any invitations for postseason tournaments as well. But they did get to the tournament quarterfinals or semifinals, excuse me, and wound up losing to. I'm losing my mind here. Wound up losing to St. Bonaventure. In the semifinals, they did beat Mississippi State, beat North Texas, got to St. Bonaventure, and lost. And based off of how that team was, there was a a shortage in shooting, outside shooting. Kihei Clark was your best outside shooter, during the entire year, and I get some of that. I get that. The team, was still trying to, the team was still trying to find itself, and really never did. But they were tough. I got to give them credit for playing tough. The defense was not a Tony Bennett defense that we're used to seeing, but good things were to come during the later part of the year. And what I mean by that is we had four stars arrive on campus during the summertime, get there, and we wound up redshirting two of those guys. But two of those guys are playing right now and are absolutely studs, on the court. And the two guys that were redshirted, you got to watch out for them next year because they're absolutely talented guys as well. But this is a stacked team for the University of Virginia, Virginia's basketball team. And right now, quite frankly, they're on their way. They just started conference play. The team is 10-2 currently and getting ready for a nice, difficult stretch going into the new year. So looking forward to this new team of 2022-2023, the basketball team, and I think they're going to be a contender to get to the Elite Eight. That was my prediction for this team, and is a markedly better team than last year. So those are some great prospects for the University of Virginia, and we'll see how this keeps running. Next thing I like to talk about is the women's swimming and diving national champions. How about that? That's nothing new for the University of Virginia to have the ladies of the dive team and the swim team always at the top when it comes to the national scene. And it's just another example of University of Virginia's excellence in sports. And they just continue to add championships to championships and championships. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this coming up spring in 2023 to see if they can defend their title. Great job, ladies, swimmers, and divers of the University of Virginia. Thank you for making Locked On Virginia your first listen every day. Make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today for the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reactions, game recaps, and Locked On's Take of the Day. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts. So yeah, everybody, as we continue to talk about what has happened during this year that was the University of Virginia. How about, we talk about, how about we continue to talk about we talk about what we absolutely were waiting for, which was also during the spring men's lacrosse. The men's lacrosse team, which is an absolute game that I absolutely love. Remember, football ends in December. Typically ended in December. My thing is, I need physicality, and the physicality in sports that I get out of lacrosse fulfills my lust for physicality, and physical plays, that I need from football, and lacrosse gives me that. So if you guys ever you need that physicality in sports, make sure you check out Virginia's lacrosse team. Virginia's lacrosse team got to the semifinals as well, or like the final four, losing to Maryland, the eventual national champions, after winning two national champions back to back themselves. And I think that this team is even stronger than last year's team, which could have won it, but they ran into Maryland, who was a buzzsaw as well. Sometimes you just aren't going to win those games, and Maryland was up to the task, and they won. But you're talking about two of the best teams in the nation right up the street from each other, College Park and Charlottesville. So look out for the University of Virginia again to be one of the top lacrosse programs. And quite frankly, some people already have them as the predicted national champion for this year, and I don't see why they aren't. And we'll see what this team goes. I will be covering some lacrosse as well. I'm looking forward to that. So let's make sure I keep a check and give everybody the lowdown on what happens with the lacrosse team. Coach Lars Tiffany always does a heck of a job recruiting. I want to say, what does he have? Like 10 5-stars or 8 5-star players. He's like the Alabama of lacrosse when it comes to recruiting, where his recruiting classes are just absolutely ridiculous. And his transfers in are absolutely ridiculous. He had a transfer player come in from Stanford, I believe, who was a captain of the football team, but when he was graduating out of high school, he's a senior now, but when he was graduating out of high school, he was a number one lacrosse player. Decided to play football, but now he wants to transfer into Virginia, and play, I believe, midfield or defense to be one of the resume his lacrosse career, which he will do, at a high level with a high level team. So shout out to Coach Lars Tiffany, and we're looking forward to a great year in 2023 and another championship run. Also, another team that we absolutely love and cherish here at Locked On Virginia is the baseball team at the University of Virginia. But one thing about Virginia, guys, is you notice, and if you've been around, is Virginia's sports programs are top notch all over the grounds. Everywhere you go, you can find some sort of high success, some sort of national championships. Men's and women's sports are just the top, when it comes to just about anything that they do, except the one sport that we need to get turned around. And we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But don't be deterred. We will get there. But the men's basketball team, the men's lacrosse team, the men's baseball team, the ladies swim team, dive team. I mean, these teams are just amazing. So wherever you go on the grounds of University of Virginia, just be prepared for some high-quality college athletics. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports, betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every personal and amateur league out there. From pro football to college bowl season to basketball and World Cup, we've got it all at BetOnline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find them at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So yeah, everyone, as I continue on with this year-end review, I left off with the baseball program. And yes, the baseball program is another one of those teams that has the pedigree, to be a Omaha bound team. They have the talent to be one of the teams left, during this during the championship season. The difference is, though, they got to get through the gauntlet of the ACC conference. 6 or 7 of the teams, maybe even 8 of the teams, are always ranked. So it is truly a murderer's row of talented baseball programs. And the University of Virginia is no, is no, uh, is no, what I want to say here. There's no mystery why this team has to compete and has competed at that level as well. So, but yes, so Coach, the baseball program, the manager of the baseball program, he's doing a hell of a job recruiting as well. You also remember you got Jay Wolfick over there, backup quarterback, potentially starting quarterback for the University of Virginia. Probably going to be a closer. And you got Kyle Geloff over there, who also is the one of the top hitters, uh, sluggers in the nation as well. Him and his brother, both of them coming back. So we'll just keep a check on the baseball team. Looking forward to covering them as well. My man Casey is going to help with that. So make sure you guys keep a check on us during this spring season. Next sport we're going to talk about here is Coach Mox's, the beginning of a new era. Of course, Coach Mox is hired in the spring of last year. And, you kind of wondered, of course, the previous coach, gave it a best shot, just couldn't do it. The team was one of the worst in the league, won 5 games total last year. But who's to say that Coach Mox, or who knew that Coach Mox was going to come in and burn it up the way that this team has? One thing you knew something was up was the way that transfers were coming in. You had Sam Brunell, one of the top players in the nation a few years ago, from right down the street here in Charlottesville, wound up committing to the University of Virginia from Notre Dame, which was a really, really good thing to bring more players. Then you had some other players come in. Mir McLean was here already, but did not play much. Same thing for Cameron Taylor, but was ready to contribute this year fully. Then you talk about Taylor Valladay. You had some other players. You had some high school players like a Katie Pauley come in and is contributing this year. She just had some players coming. And then, of course, her recruiting class that she just captured is coming in and is a top 15 program. 15 recruiting class as well that she has coming in. And it does not surprise me at this point that the team being 12-1, doing their thing and pretty much surprising everyone. I think they're off until next week, end of next week, and we'll see. Of course, they got a tough stretch coming up as well. Only loss this year is to Duke, but they got a lot of tough games coming up, and we'll see how this team goes as well. But shout out to Coach Mox, who has done, quite frankly, the job of being the ACC Coach of the Year, this portion of the year. And I don't think there's any slowdown. I know that there's going to be some tougher games. I think that there's going to be some games that are going to lose, are going to be tight. But I think that this is a tournament team and a tournament team going into the March Madness tournament. And I think that Coach Mox, her recruiting from the transfer portal and her recruiting of high school players, watch out, because she even said to herself, she remembers the old glory days when Dawn Staley was here. She remembers that. Of course, she is a Virginia native, and she wanted to get back here. She said it's an honor for her to be here and to represent the University of Virginia and get them back to the glory days. And that's something that is beautiful to hear. It's music to our ears, and we'll make sure we check on Coach Mox as well. But she's just an incredible coach, incredible motivator, and you can see her work and how much the players have taken to her. There are a few transfers that came in. There are some high school players here, but the core of the team has already been there. Mir McLean, Cameron Taylor, and Taylor Valladay, and a few other ladies that have been here. So, their top scorers, outside of Sam Brunell, have been here. And they have taken to the system. And it shows 1-year turnarounds are not a myth. They're not a fairy tale. They can happen. And Coach Mox can attest to that, with these Lady Wahoos. And the last thing I'm going to cover, of course, is the football team, which is what I am to my core. I'm a football guy, played football, coach football. So I'm going to talk about the University of Virginia's football program. Of course, in the winter of last year, Coach Elliott is hired, and I want to say December, January. He's hired, and there is a lot of optimism based off of his pedigree and where he's from. Of course, he's from Clemson, and being from Clemson, you would think that there's going to be some carryover from the success that he had there. He was a play caller there for years, lifelong Clemson person, coach, player, all around. But he wanted to run his own show, and he chose Virginia because Virginia was looking for a new coach after Bronco Mendenhall absolutely wanted to retire, wanted to get out. They asked him to make some decisions. Is the story how it goes on the street anyway? They asked him to make some decisions, and he didn't want to make them, so he just resigned. And you can do that when you have, when you have the resources too. So Coach Bronco Mendenhall resigns, and Coach Elliott is hired. The optimism is high. Then comes the spring game. Of course, they recruit modestly. I'll say that kind of nicely. It was a modest recruiting class coming in. And you watch the spring game, you kind of see what's going on. It was a little bit of more of a what do they call it? 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of a look that they were doing. They wanted to emphasize running the ball. You really didn't see too many explosive plays. The one explosive play I do remember was when Paris, now I'm losing my mind, running back came in and ran a long touchdown. I'm going to get the name here because I'm really losing my mind. I'm trying to figure out his name. I just had it in my mind. But he, the one explosive play was a long touchdown run from him, and he has decided to return for this year, which was which is a great thing for this staff. He wound up being the starting running back for the year, but they started to split the time up, with him and other running backs, i.e. Mike Ellis, Ronnie Harmon, when he started coming off, and Xavier Brown, true freshman, who came in and started getting time. And I think that was good. I think that was a good thing for the entire team. They started using, running back by committee, which I think is, if you don't have the one, horse who can carry the mail, it's always a good thing to have multiple guys out there. Paris Jones, there we go. I'm sorry, Paris Jones, who's the running back I was just speaking of, and he's coming back, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the spring game was a little bit of a. It was almost like it was dead. I hate to use that word, but it was not that many people there. It was really like a practice. It wasn't a ton of people there. It wasn't, like it was someone or like a lot of fans were wanted to be there. Or there just wasn't a lot of fans. Fans, of course, were there, wanted to be there, but it wasn't like the fan base was excited as I thought that they were. So it was not that many people in the stands, which would only spill over into the season. And then the season comes along, and there are definitely small highs, but there are a lot of deep lows. First on the field, the team, and Brandon Armstrong in particular, just having the toughest time trying to find his way in this new offense that Coach Elliott has installed. The big overwhelming surprise was Coach Rudzik comes in and is kind of like the savior of the season based off of how he runs his defense. You know, it's a revelation. You know, we haven't seen University of Virginia's defense play this good, and I say almost 10 years. You know, and defense played well, just couldn't get any help from the offense. How good could his defense have been if the offense could keep them off of the field? But the offense would have had a lot of 3-and-outs. It was just a tough grasp for Brennan Armstrong and the offensive team. The offensive line struggled. So, you know, there are some things that they're going to have to adjust to get to the level they need to get to. So, needless to say, it was a tough year. They only won 3 games all year. And then you have the tragedy of the loss of the 3 players, you know, for the year. And, you know, I think that really took it to another low for the program. You know, and if it's something that we can really, you know, put into, you know, it's really hard to put it all into words based off of what happened and how it affected everybody. But, you know, the team did what they had to do as far as healing, staying together, and pretty much giving tribute to their fallen players through the tragedy. And I think that, you know, where they are right now, I am still surprised because I did not expect for the players that committed to stay committed. They only lost 1 commit out of all of the, you know, out of all the things that happened with the tragedy. One thing about it is, you know, a lot of the defenders are coming back for 2023. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the spring football game. They got their quarterback in Tony Muskett. I'm looking forward to seeing if they can reel back in Nick Jackson, who's in the transfer portal. Of course, you know, the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh. Of course, they lose Fintrell Cypress, their best defensive back, one of the best defensive backs in the ACC, to the transfer portal. Also, they lose their all-ACC quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, and that's probably for the best for the football team and for the coaching staff and the team. And, you know, they're just trying to start anew. But I will give them credit for keeping a lot of their players that I thought that they probably would lose, and also holding tight to a lot of their, you know, or getting players to come out of the transfer portal. Wide receiver from Northwestern, you had, like I said, Tony Muskett coming in, a quarterback, which is what they needed, which was priority number 1. And a couple other players who came in from, like the running back from Clemson, 4-star running back or 3-star running back, excuse me, but a very productive ACC running back. So we got a lot of things to look forward to, guys. You know, I think the basketball, football programs, Coach Motz's program, are going to continue to do well. But let's see what 2023 has in store for us. And I mean, we're looking at a few hours left here, but I just wanted to give you guys a year-end review with a couple of hours left. So I got to say thank you for making Locked On Virginia your first listen today. Make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today, the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reaction, game recaps on Locked On's Take of the Day. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you find your podcasts. Thank you, guys. I will see you next year, and looking forward to continue on. I appreciate Locked On, you know, and the team, my guy Zach, you know, help guide me here, helping me clean up some of the technical issues and also kind of getting me on board. But yeah, looking forward to it, and thank you for making Locked On Virginia your first listen today. See you guys, and I'll be back tomorrow.